In this video, we'll be looking at small group defending principles in the 5 versus 5 or 7 versus 7 game, focusing mostly on the actions of single defenders, 2 or 3 defenders within the 5 versus 5 or 7 versus 7 format. Here we have a good example of good pressure cover. One defender approaching the ball, putting pressure on the ball, while the other one sits in a covering position, forces this attacker to go back in the other direction. Again, same thing over here. We see on this side we have a pressuring defender and a covering defender, and just that position of both of those defenders makes the attackers switch and go back the other way. So this is good defending. Here we see a single defender pressuring the ball, but his angle of approach takes a potential 2 against 1 situation and turns it just into a 1 against 1 situation, because this attacker out here is just taken out of the picture, and that attacker has to turn and go back the other way. Here he does it again with his angle of approach. His angle of approach takes away a direct pass to that attacker, and this covering defender here doesn't tempt the attacker to hit a ball diagonally in behind. So this is good pressure on the ball, making a 2 versus 1, a 1 versus 1 situation, and the covering defender completes the picture. Here is a different example of how 2 versus 1 is made into 1 versus 1. A defender coming from a deep lying situation, and his angle of approach again takes away the direct pass into the high attacker, and this covering defender completes the picture and doesn't even tempt the attacker to play it in there. Again, same thing here. This defender here has stepped and made the attacker play the ball back, taking away a passing angle. Here, this defender his approach is different. He just keeps the two attackers in front of him. Since he's in numbers down situation, he doesn't really have close cover, but he doesn't go lunging in, doesn't take away an angle, just keeps both of them in front of him for effective defending. Same thing over here. This defender, instead of biting in, because he has the two attackers here that are working together, just sort of delays the action and waits till his covering, a retreating covering defender, comes and able to help out. So he takes a 2 versus 1, what was a 2 versus 1, and makes it into a 2 versus 2. Again, this defender has two attackers to deal with, and he just keeps them both in front of him, delays the action, and waits for supporting defenders to come into the picture. Contrast this with these examples, where this defender has jumped in too hard. He doesn't have a covering defender, which was this player, could have slid across to help. But he doesn't have that, and he jumps in anyway, and the attacker just played the ball behind and puts him under pressure. Again, this is just a review of the last clip. Here it is again, jumping in first defense without cover. Here we have an opportunity on the sideline to make this 1-against-2 situation. By the lack of commitment because of the defenders, the attacker is able to get out of pressure instead of clamping in hard against the sideline, having the covering defender perhaps commit a little bit more. They allow this attacker to get out of the trouble against the sideline. Here again is a good example of a good pressure cover. We have pressure on the ball against the sideline, and here we have a covering defender that is willing to come in and help out in case the first defender is beat, but also has a responsibility to mark that supporting attacker running into play. And he starts the counterattack pretty well out of it. Here we have an example of 2 defenders being outnumbered by 3 attackers. And want to focus specifically on the role of this defender in the back. He does a good job. It keeps the attackers in front of him. Does 2 jobs at once, covering that player and this player. Reads the service well. Steps up to intercept and starts the counterattack. Here are just some examples of numbers down defending. We see this this defender deals with the goalkeeper and the wide player at the same time, keeps them both in front of him, makes a play back. Again here we have 2 attackers essentially attacking that one defender. He doesn't allow that attacker to turn. He makes him play back, which gives the blue team time to recover. Here we had a defender maybe jumping in a little bit too much before the attacker was under enough pressure, and he's quickly played behind, which stresses this defender, and he does a good job dropping, delaying, keeping them both in front of him, so he gets help from his teammates. Here we have a blue player aggressively stepping on a player that is able to turn and really not be close enough to put him under pressure. And because of this, covering defender doesn't get back into the space soon enough, the ball is able to be played and split. So perhaps a better option here for this defender would have been just to drop a little bit and delay, allowing time for the covering defender to get back. Let's look up some examples in the 7 versus 7 format. Here we have a defender aggressively stepping on a ball that he's really not able to get enough pressure on it so that the attacker has to face away from the goal he's going to. And since he has close support coming, I'm not sure it's the best decision because he can play quickly behind him. And again, the same thing here. This defender allows the ball to be played back, and since this defender didn't cover, it makes a easy 2 versus 1 situation that the white team did a good job to exploit and almost got a goal out of it. Here we're going to have the white team has a chance to keep 3 defenders in this tight area. If they commit aggressively to the ball, perhaps blue team was not able to get out, but they sort of come in halfway with their pressure and allow blue team to get out. Here's just good examples here of teams being able to outnumber attackers. Here, in a sense, we have 4 blue defenders collapsing around 1 white attacker, and they do a good job in dropping and delaying enough so that blues are allowed to get numbers around the ball and effectively just squeeze that attacker out of possession. Here, same thing here. Here's a good job by this defender, the last one back, to drop and delay because he's faced with a 2-against-1 situation going to goal. So his job here is to drop and delay in order to allow recovering white defenders to get back behind the ball so they can outnumber it. Which they're able to do. They get back, they get centrally compact, which makes it difficult for blue to attack. They end up winning the ball.